Man, I don't know what it is about Monday Night Raw, guys. I don't know what it is. It might be because I just don't enjoy it anymore, or I just don't enjoy it as much as I used to, but man, there's just so much stuff going on, and I just don't really enjoy it as much anymore. There'll be no music today, guys, and as much as I love to have music in the background, I just can't be buggered right now. I just can't be buggered doing it. When I sit through every Monday Night Raw episode, I feel like I'm watching... It almost feels like I'm watching sort of something from the COVID era, but also something that it just shows you that maybe the fans just do not care. And I think that's the thing I'm learning a lot when I watch these shows. Like, the fans just don't care about majority of the matches. It feels like that they only care about the people they generally like Jey Uso, and Cody Rhodes, and Seth Rollins, and Becky Lynch. Like, they'll only react to the matches they care about. And that's one of the biggest problems with today's WWE. Triple H, and I get he's trying, and I know I hear a lot of people say, well, Triple H is trying, give him a chance. I'm done giving him chances, and also short matches, and giving certain matches length, and not giving other matches length, is one of the other bigger problems. Like, he'll give, maybe for example, The Way versus The After Party, like about 2 minutes of action, but he gave DIY and the Creed brothers 20 minutes. Now, don't get me wrong, the DIY and the Creed brothers match was incredibly fantastic. It was a fantastic tag team match. Nothing against the talent between them. But that's the biggest problem. Like, you'll give one match certain amount of time, but all the other matches will get doubly the least. Double less. Less than double of that time. Like, how are you going to get the fans to care about this new Candice LeRae heel turn if she's beating people in about 2 minutes? Like, don't get me wrong, this heel turn will benefit Candice more than Indy. This will benefit Candice more than Indy, because it's very clear that Candice is going to turn on Indy at some point. And they're obviously going to be pushing her up, while Indy will be stuck in the lower mid-card, possible jobber status, and not get pushed up. So that's one of my biggest problems right now when it comes to WWE. They'll give X amount of time to certain people, and I've said this so many times. If you're not Becky, if you're not Rhea, if you're not Triple H's favorites, then you're not going to get as much time at all to compete. You're not going to get much time. The only way you'll ever get lengthy amount of time is a premium live event. So the show started off with Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso in the ring. I know a lot of people will say this was an awesome promo. One of the things that I didn't like, and either I missed it because I woke up 2 minutes late, but I didn't, but to be fair, I only woke up 2 minutes late. So I probably didn't miss it. But the one thing I didn't like about Jay's promo is that I know he said that he still misses his brother, Jimmy, because that's his brother. That's not the thing that I didn't like. The thing that I didn't like about it was because... The one thing I didn't like about it is that he is straight up ignoring the fact that Jimmy Uso, his own brother, cost him not only the undisputed WWE Championship and the Intercontinental Championship. You would think Jay would be furious at his brother. Why would he say that he misses his brother when his own flesh and blood has cost him 2 championships? So, that didn't make any sense to me. And I get it, it's family. Of course you're going to miss your family relatives. But it just didn't make any sense. Like, why would he say that? He should be fuming. He should be wanting to rip his brother's head off. He should be wanting to rip his brother's head off for not only costing him the most richest prize in the industry, the WWE Championship, but also costing him the Intercontinental Championship. But he's out here going, I miss you, Uce. I miss you, brother. I want you back. It doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Why would he just... why? He should have been more angry. He should have been more wanting to rip his brother's head off for costing him 2 championships. That's the thing I didn't really like about this. And you may think I'm just doing it because I want to, just single out the negatives here. No. I'm not... do you think what Jay made sense to you? Do you think it makes absolutely 100% chance for him to say what he said? And do you think he should just ignore the fact that Jimmy cost him the Undisputed title and the Intercontinental title? No. You don't know. No. He shouldn't be ignoring that stuff. Having someone ignore something like that is a big, crucial problem with storytelling. You want to give me a good story? Fine. But just make sure you don't leave out any details. And they left out that detail. Oh, but Patrick, they will probably mention it sometime in the weeks to come. We're 2 weeks away from WrestleMania. 2 to 3 weeks away from WrestleMania. That's how long we are from WrestleMania. 2 to 3 weeks. 2 to 3 weeks away from WrestleMania, and if they don't mention any of that within that time frame, then that just shows you that they left out very important detail. Yes, we are still 2 to 3 weeks away from Mania, but I'm just saying, it's very important detail that they should not be leaving out. DIY beat the Creed brothers in a really fun tag match. Don't get me wrong, as I said, I really liked this tag match, but I hated the fact that these two teams had to face each other. Because I would much rather the Creed brothers in this ladder match than the Awesome Truth. I would rather them in this match than the Awesome Truth or Indus. Now, obviously only one of those teams qualified. New Day obviously qualified. But the thing that I hate is that 2 talented teams went against each other and only one could go to WrestleMania. And it was very that was very obvious that DIY were going to win because Michael Cole said it. They've never been at WrestleMania. Well, thanks for the spoiler alert. DIY win. I hate when the commentators do stuff like that. I hate when the commentators say stuff like that. Because you just know the outcome. Well, technically the Creed brothers have never been to WrestleMania, Patrick. So technically, Michael Cole was wrong. So technically, Michael Cole didn't jinx DIY. He didn't jinx. He didn't give away a spoiler. Now look. I know people give Def Rebel a lot of crap for the music. And I will say I wasn't a fan of the Creed brothers' new music. But I'll say this. And I wish people would understand this. Def Rebel do not just make trash songs. They don't just make trash songs. Look at majority of the songs in NXT. Bron Breakker, Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez. They make a lot of good songs in NXT. They've made Indy Hartwell's new theme. Katana and Kaden's After Party. Toxic Attraction. Now JC Jane's theme. And they've even made some good ones on the main roster as well, like Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and, several of others. People tend to forget that Def Rebel do deliver some actually really good songs. Hell, they created Io Sky's theme, for Christ's sake. I think people just like to give Def Rebel a lot of crap, and look, if they make a bad song, rightfully so. But the thing that I don't like is that people just hate the song just because, a previous song they like got changed. And I get that, it's understandable, you'd be upset that you lost a theme song that you like. That's what YouTube's for. That's what iTunes is for. You can just look up the old song. You can easily just YouTube the old song. Just listen to it. It's not that big of a deal. I just think sometimes the music being changed isn't that big of a deal. But I also understand if it happens at a random time, like what happened with Tiffany Stratton. But I'm just saying, it's not that big of a deal. But I'm just saying, Def Rebel do make some good songs, but they also make some bad ones. They're not perfect. They're not perfect. No one's perfect. And that's the thing I really hate. That people think that everything needs to be perfect. The Judgment Day make a pitch to Andrade. Seems like Andrade wants to be a part of the Judgment Day. Not sure why. I'm not sure why he wants to be in the Judgment Day. There's really no motivation to why he wants to join them. I think it's because he respects Dominic. I think that's what it's supposed to be. Like, he has respect for Dominic. I don't know, but it's very weird to me. It's weird, but, yeah, he wants to be in the Judgment Day. And maybe, I think maybe this happens if Finn Balor doesn't re-sign. Because I've been hearing a lot of rumors about Finn Balor possibly leaving WWE. If Finn Balor is set to leave, then maybe they're planning on having Andrade replace him. Maybe not as leader of the Judgment Day, but maybe just as like, oh, he will be Finn's replacement if Finn leaves the company. And to be honest, you might think, I might want Finn Balor to stay. Personally, it's his decision. If he stays, he stays. If he goes, he goes. He really has nothing left to prove in WWE, so he's got nothing left to prove. What has he really got left to prove in WWE? If he wants to leave, he leaves. If he stays, he stays. I guess we'll see in due time where they go from here. But yeah, Andrade seemingly possibly wanting to join the Judgment Day is very interesting. So then we get to the after party, Katana and Kaden versus Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. This match only lasted 2 minutes and 8 seconds. I know because someone on the internet said how long it lasts. I didn't time it. I did not time it. Even if I did, it would have probably said the same thing. But again, as I've said about this match before, earlier, like, the fans just didn't care about this match. They didn't care. Like they got into the Creed Brothers and DIY match because you gave the fans time to be invested in the match. Yes, you would think that maybe the crowd reactions would improve with certain wrestlers over time. But again, back to the Def Rebel situation. At the Royal Rumble, people called the both men's and women's Royal Rumbles terrible because the fans didn't react to who was coming out. Because, how are fans supposed to know who is who when we see the exact same people every week? Like, people were saying, like, oh, the crowd didn't know who Tegan Nox was, or Tegan Nox barely got a reaction, or Xia Li barely gets a reaction, and Alba Fire barely gets a reaction. I'm like, well, what did you expect? Like, they're not on TV every week. Like, how do you expect the fans to get used to hearing their songs if they're not being featured every week? And most of the time, like, for Katana and Kaden's sake, they got a mini push. They got a little push to where they beat Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, and then, boom, their push is over. They just immediately pass the titles over to Asuka and Kairi. Instead of letting them stay champions, they're just like, okay, you had your little push, now give it to Asuka and Kairi. And now they're back to square one, and now they're back to losing matches. Like, they're such an incredibly talented team. I actually really like them. And it sucks to see people like this happen. Like, how do you give them a little push, just let them hold the title for about a week or two, and then just end their push? It told me that Triple H had no desires to push them. He just wanted to find a team to get the titles off of Chelsea and Piper so then he can pass it over to Asuka and Kairi. That's the only reason he had them win the belts. And this matchup was not a good match. How do you expect me to say a 2-minute match was great? Oh, and just because the YouTube one... Oh, by the way, just because on YouTube it says 3 minutes and 12 seconds, people are going to say, actually the match lasted 3 minutes and 12 seconds. Look at the timer on YouTube. No. To tell you how you figure out how long a match goes, you hit your recorder, you hit your timer, you hit your stopwatch when the bell rings. Once all the entrances are over, you hit your timer when the bell rings, and you press stop when the bell rings again. That's how you determine how long a match is. It's not, the full entrance. It's not the full entrance to where they win and celebrate. That's not a full match. That's not a full match. I just want to point that out because a few people got a bit upset at me for trying to say how long. I got a few people upset at me for trying to time WWE's matches when they were telling me to do the same thing for AEW and TNA. Get out of here. Cody Rhodes, he had a long segment talking about The Rock, because The Rock talked about his mum and all that stuff. You know, if there's one thing I'm getting very sick of when it comes to Cody, like, look, I love Cody, and again, this is not his fault, and I'm not blaming him, I'm blaming Triple H. The one thing that Triple H needs to stop doing is constantly have Cody Rhodes in feuds that involves his family. This is the same thing with Seth Rollins. It's the same thing with Seth Rollins. Majority of Seth's feuds are either people bringing up Becky Lynch. Oh, you're only popular because of Becky. You married Becky Lynch, who's far more popular than you. Like what The Rock did in his little concert where he talked about Becky being more popular than Seth. Like, who gives a shit? They're both as popular. They're both just as popular as each other. Seth, I might even argue that I think Seth gets bigger reactions than Becky has lately. Either they're kind of both the same, or maybe one week Becky may get a bigger reaction than Seth, or maybe Seth will get a bigger reaction than Becky. Sometimes it's kind of even, sometimes maybe one or the other will get a bigger reaction. So really the fans like both. Okay? We can like both. We don't need to say one's better than the other. But that's the biggest issue with Cody. Like, every damn feud he's in, it's Dusty this, Dusty that. Oh, your family's a joke. Your family's awful. Your family is this. Your family is that. Can Cody Rhodes actually have a feud without anyone mentioning his family? Shinsuke mentioned his family. Shinsuke Nakamura mentioned his family. You know, there are so many feuds where it's not because they want to prove they're better than Cody Rhodes. Hell, even when Seth Rollins was a heel, made it about his family. Because he came out dressed in Dusty Rhodes' polka dots in one of the matches. I think it was the Hell in a Cell match. But that's the point. All of Cody's matches is just Dusty. It's his family. It's nothing else. It's not to prove he's a better man than the person he's wrestling. It's just family. And I know Cody's okay with it. But wouldn't you think after a while he would kind of get annoyed and say, hey, can we come up with something different? The same thing with Seth. I know they're loyal. Well, Seth is. Cody wasn't. He walked. But I know some wrestlers are loyal and they'll just do what they're told. But wouldn't you think after a while you would say, you know, maybe we should do something else? But yeah, that was this is becoming one of my biggest problems of Cody. on Monday Night Raw is that all of his feuds just evolve around his family. And I don't think, and I know some people may say, well, maybe the family stuff will stop after he finishes his story. Maybe he'll capture the title, and they'll say he did it for Dusty, and now the family stuff will move on. Nah. I guarantee you, his family will still be mentioned, even if he finishes his story. I guarantee you, his family will still get brought up, even if he finishes the story, because it's the only way to garner heel heat on Cody. If you don't mention Dusty, and you don't mention his family, then how else are you going to garner heel heat on him? And that's the thing I hate. They can't come up with new ways to garner heel heat for someone like Cody Rhodes. Chad Gable tells Sami Zayn that he can't beat Gunther. Now, I don't like this, because I don't really want them to turn Chad Gable heel. I don't really want them to turn Chad Gable heel. I think he's great in the role as a babyface. I think he's a great babyface. But I don't think it is a heel turn. Maybe he's just frustrated that he's not getting his match with Gunther. But, again, this whole review is just going to be me rambling. But the one thing I am getting pretty annoyed about, which, when am I not getting annoyed about anything when it comes to fans, is that fans will always get upset when the match that they don't get happens. When the match they don't get does not happen, they always have to get mad. Like the Liv Morgan fans were mad they didn't get Liv versus Rhea. Chad Gable fans were not happy we didn't get Chad Gable versus Gunther. And now they're saying bad things about Sami Zayn, because now they're saying terrible things about Sami Zayn, saying he's not deserving and all this other nonsense. Like, just because the match you wanted does not happen, does not mean you should be sending terrible, terrible things to these wrestlers. Look, Liv versus Rhea can still happen. If Rhea's champion or not, which I don't think she will be after WrestleMania, like, Rhea could turn babyface. They're turning Liv Morgan heel. They seemingly might be turning Liv Morgan heel. So, they could easily turn Liv Morgan heel and maybe turn Rhea Ripley face when she leaves Judgment Day. And then the two of them can still have a feud. Even if the title isn't on the line, they could still have a feud. That match can still happen. The only way it won't happen is if they announce there's a draft after WrestleMania, and Liv Morgan or Rhea Ripley decide to get drafted over to SmackDown. Then you have every right to be angry. But I still think their match is going to happen. There's still plenty of time to do Liv versus Rhea. If Rhea stays champion, they could do it at SummerSlam. They could do it at SummerSlam if they want to. Again, they could make Rhea the face, Liv the heel. Maybe Liv Morgan slays Rhea at SummerSlam. You just never know. But all I'm saying is that people are so impatient. Just because they didn't get what they want means at the time they wanted it to happen, they now get angry about it. Yeah, sure, I get mad when I don't get what I want. But I never say anything bad about wrestlers. I never say, this wrestler doesn't deserve this. Or along those lines. Only if I truly get sick of them, that's when I will really start saying something. Like Bianca and Roxanne. When I truly got sick of them, that's when I started rebelling. Not because they didn't, and all that stuff. But the thing is that fans, but the thing is, again, I never say, but again, I've never gone out of my way to bash them. I've never gone out of my way to bash them, say they're terrible, or I stop being a fan of them. I just say, look, I don't agree with the decision. I don't agree with the decision that they made, and you know what? There's no way you can change it. But again, the fans just think, just because you don't get what you want, and just because they were able to do the same thing with Cody, even though it kind of feels like this was always the plan, I doubt it, but even if they managed to get Cody his match, now fans think, oh, we got Cody his match with Roman, so now we can get Chad in the IC title match. We can get Liv Morgan in the Women's World title match. It's not how it works. It's never been that way. I'm starting to think that this whole Cody situation was always the plan. It kind of makes me think it was always the plan, but I mean, it's kind of hard for me to really believe that WWE had this whole thing planned. But I'm just saying, just because, even if Cody was put back in because of crowd reaction, you can't just sit there and say that, you can't just say the things you want should happen, and if it doesn't happen, you should get mad about it. Again, Gunther could retain at WrestleMania, and we could still get Chad Gable versus Gunther at some point. Again, you just gotta be patient. You can't expect things to happen straight away. As much as I agree that I think Liv Morgan should have the match at WrestleMania instead of Becky, I've gone on and defended Becky's their reason to defend Becky Lynch, and I said, look, I don't agree with it. I said in my chamber review, I said it was predictable that Becky was going to win, like I always knew she was going to win. But I never discredit someone else. You should never discredit someone else just because you didn't get the match you wanted. Again, when it comes to Liv, I think her and Rhea can still have a match, depending if they're not separated in a draft, if they ever do decide to do one. Ricochet and Dirty Dom had a match, and didn't care about this, and, the fans didn't care, so why should we? You would think with Dominic Mysterio in there, you would think the fans would care, because, oh, boo, most hated man? No. Ricochet was able to win. Gunther and Sami Zayn had a contract signing. Gunther was repeating the same words that, Chad Gable said, that he can't beat him. I'm starting to think Sami Zayn could very well beat Gunther at WrestleMania, because the more that they keep saying this, the more I'm thinking Sami Zayn could very well win. And I wouldn't be upset if Sami Zayn did defeat Gunther. I wouldn't be that upset about it. As much as I want it to be Chad, I wouldn't hate Sami Zayn doing it either. Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, they had another promo. I mean, if Drew's not wrestling, he's always winning. But, all that stuff. But at the same time, Seth and Drew have been doing a lot of talking. Seth Rollins is saying that Drew's got a bit of an obsession with CM Punk. And CM Punk's going to be on Raw next week. I remember, I think it was last week. Someone can correct me. I remember them saying CM Punk was going to be on an episode of Raw. I think it was last week. I didn't watch last week, so maybe he was there. But I didn't watch last week's show. I remember, I think it was WWE Now or something that they were talking about. I remember them saying something about CM Punk being at Raw, and then there was no sign of him. And then I checked social media, and then nothing was ever said anything about CM Punk. So I don't know if they false advertised or they changed plans, but I remember them saying something about CM Punk. But they've confirmed that CM Punk will be on Raw next week. So much for him being gone for 6 months, I suppose, but I guess we'll see what they're doing. I think they're going to make him the host of WrestleMania. I think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to name him the host of WrestleMania. The Awesome Truth took on Indashi, Via, and Sanga. Man, remember when WWE tried to build up Via as a credible monster? Remember when they tried to make this guy feel like a threat? Yeah, remember when they tried to make this guy an actual threat and make people care? And how long they made us wait for Via, Emelina style? Look, as I said at the start of this review, these 3 qualifying matches were so predictable. It was so obvious the winners were. The Awesome Truth was always going to win. I never once believed that Veer Mahan and Sangha were going to be in the match. I really do believe Miz and R-Truth are going to win the tag team titles, because they've brought up how R-Truth has never won at WrestleMania. Well, Well, that's definitely going to change. Well, I guarantee you, that's definitely going to be changing at WrestleMania. I reckon DIY will pull down the Raw Tag Team titles, and Miz and Truth will pull down the SmackDown Tag Team titles. I feel that this tag match is going to end with the titles being split up. I'll be surprised if they still don't split them up after this. If they don't split them up at WrestleMania, then it tells me that Triple H has no intention on splitting up the tag team titles. Because he's had many chances to do it. Something tells me he doesn't want to. Something tells me he would rather have it that way. Then just get rid of the Raw and SmackDown tag team belts and create an all new title, like you did with the Undisputed title. The New Day beat Alpha Academy to qualify. Again, no shocker there. And then the main event was Becky Lynch versus Nia Jax in a last woman standing match. Again, very predictable. I mean, I don't like Nia. I'd rather Becky win than Nia, but the ending made no sense. Nia Jax can survive a manhandle slam off the apron through a table, but she couldn't handle a leg drop to the back of her neck? Which, by the way, the manhandle slam is Becky's finishing move. How does that make any sense? How does it make any sense for Nia to survive a manhandle slam, but then she goes through another table by a leg drop, but that keeps her down? No sense. Made absolutely no sense whatsoever. Becky won the last woman standing match, obviously. I mean, right winner. I'm not going to sit here and complain and say, oh, Becky should have lost. I don't like Nia. I don't care about Nia as much as other people do. So, to me, it's not that big of a deal. But, again, it was so obvious that Becky was going to win that match because they kept saying all night, Becky Lynch had never beat Nia Jax in a one-on-one match. Again, as I've told you guys already, whenever you hear the commentators say stuff like that, it's so predictable and obvious who's going to win. Even my dad, who doesn't watch wrestling matches nowadays, he sat and watched a few segments where Gunther and Chad Gable kept saying to Sami Zayn, you can't beat me, you can't beat Gunther. And even my dad said, this is all setting up Sami Zayn to win. When you have stuff like that happen, you just know the outcome. Now, I will be surprised if Gunther still does win. But I'm just saying, when you have wrestlers, or even people just say, you can't beat someone, it's very clear. It's very damn clear that they're going to tell you, oh yeah, the person that they say that they can't beat that person's definitely going to beat them. That's really all I'm going to say, and I don't like that. I think it's really annoying. I kind of like the idea of maybe just having that one particular wrestler that always gets the upper hand on someone. Like, I think Nia always getting the upper hand on Becky would have been a fine story. I mean, look at... I don't want to ramble too long, but yeah, I think there should always be that one wrestler that should always be someone's kryptonite. And I think Nia being Becky's kryptonite could have been an interesting story if they wanted to go down that path, but they didn't want to. They wanted her to eventually get the win over Nia. So, but regardless, that's the end of this review, guys. Sorry for this review being really long and very ranty, but I needed to get a lot of these things off my chest. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit that thumbs up. Give me your thoughts down below, and I will see you all on the other side. And then you'll reach the other side.